Welcome to another episode of the Healing Chronic Illness Summit. Today I have a special guest with me. Today we'll be talking to Susan, and she is from Virginia and has a shamanic background and came from the shamanism to the medical medium, and that's pretty interesting. Welcome, Susan.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ava.
You're welcome. So
happy to be here and share our stories. Yeah.
I think you have an amazing story.
Oh.
So tell us a little bit more. How did it go for you? What brought you actually to the medical medium?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely into, spiritual phenomenon. The idea that we could get information in these ways that a lot of people might think is strange, but I do really, I've seen over the years, I really feel that there are beings on the other side, in the spiritual world that are trying to help us. So it's that much of a surprise to me to get physical information from somebody that, is doing something, hearing information, in this way that, like I said, some people would consider strange. But, on a practical level, I had been working in shamanism, loving that, developing my spiritual side and doing a lot of emotional and mental healing from trauma from my childhood and feeling pretty good. I can't say I, feel fantastic all the time, but, feeling like I'd made a lot of progress. And that was over about 20 years, of really doing a lot of meditating and healing. And then I hit this point where I was actually pretty happy in my life, but I was starting to feel sicker and sicker on a physical level. When I was 45, I started having migraines for the first time in my life, like just horrible, horrible migraines that just started coming out of the blue. My mother had migraines since she was young, but I just never had them. And then with the migraines and in between the migraines, I wouldn't feel good. And it was getting harder and harder to do my work. I just couldn't concentrate. I would be sitting with people and I just would feel not good. I would feel nauseous. My head was fuzzy, which now I know Anthony has put the term to brain fog. I mean, I couldn't have even told you what was going on with me. I just didn't feel right. I just felt tired all the time. It was like I'd have maybe an hour of energy during the day and just feeling just not right. Like my whole body, not right, worse and worse. And I look back now and I realized I was probably sick my entire life. One of the things that Anthony says is that if a baby has constipation and eczema, they have a sluggish liver. And I had those when I was a baby. From the time that my mother's told me, I had those things from when I was born. I've had eczema since I was a baby, which is a sign of a sluggish liver, and viruses. And I don't know, I can remember, having a migraine before I found Anthony and just praying to, my guides and, the spirit beings who, I wouldn't really have called them angels in those days, but calling, probably angels, whatever people want to call them, and just saying, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. It was one of those, I think when you have those calls that come from deep within your soul of, I really need help. Like I can't keep going on like this. And then in April of 2016, I don't know how long that was until this happened, but April of 2016, which was still, God, now that I think of it, that was like 10 years into me having migraines already, I think. It was just getting worse and worse. Somebody gave me the book. And honestly, I don't read that many spiritual books. I had so much spiritual study that when I read now, I read fiction because I need something to get my brain off of things, like I need a break. But anyway, it was one afternoon, I probably had the book for a couple weeks even. And then it was one afternoon, I was sitting down and I thought, hey, whatever, I'll give this a try. And I started reading it, and within the first couple of pages, I had that full like body rush of, if this guy is the real deal, if this guy is telling the truth, then he is bringing truth forward in how to heal ourselves. And because my spiritual teacher in shamanism was a spirit who was channeled through someone else. So I was used to being around that kind of this unusual spiritual phenomenon where you're in the presence of someone else who's a spirit. And so when Anthony said he doesn't channel, but he hears a voice outside of his ear, for me, it wasn't weird at all. For me, it was actually a sign that it was even more valid. Because to me, I feel like when these sources come that are higher sources, they're bringing us truth in a way that's very, very pure. It's a different energy. It has a different feel to it. You can feel it when you read the books. You can feel it when you hear Anthony talk. And so I started reading the book, started reading about migraines. And really, honestly, I didn't really figure out what was going on with the migraines right away, but it was very helpful. And then I started reading the last section. And I have to say, the last section, How to Finally Heal, it's pretty overwhelming in the beginning, because when he starts talking about what you have to give up, what you have to change. But I remember looking at it and thinking, I remember reading about celery juice, right? And I had chronic gut issues since I was a kid. And reading about the celery juice and just thinking, if I do one thing out of this whole book, I'm going to do that. I just thought, if I can heal this chronic constipation since I was a baby, I'm going to do this celery juice thing. It's like, I like celery. I had a feeling I wasn't going to like the juice very much. But when I read the section in the first book, it's the last section called How to Finally Heal. And that was the thing that stuck out to me, because it is, in a way, it's one of the top two most important things, that and wild blueberries. And then the next thing I did was that I just started going online. I said, who is this guy? Now the internet, you can find everything, right? You can find it. So he already had the Medical Medium site up. And I started going on Facebook and finding groups and getting involved in groups with other people that were following him. And I started listening to The Healing Path, which I highly recommend too. That's a resource on his website that's free. It's something where most other teachers will be putting out webinars and charging for them. And that's fine. I make money off of the work that I do. And I think most of us have to do that. But Anthony he was giving away tons of stuff. I just said, okay, I'm going to do The Healing Path. I'm not going to do it all in one day. Each section is maybe 10 minutes, I think. And I just said, okay, when I get time, I'm going to listen to this. So I would listen to him, maybe 4 or 5 days in a row. And then maybe I was busy. I just said, I'm going to go through all of these. And to hear him speak, for me, one of the things that got me in the very beginning, at the very end of even his first 10-minute segment on The Healing Path, I think he's talking about fruit. And at the very end, he says, I love you. I'm behind you. I got your back. Something it could just even make me cry now. And I just thought, this guy is really loving. I could just feel how compassionate he was, that he's so compassionate all the time, that he says, I understand your suffering. I see your suffering. And if you've had chronic pain or any of the chronic illness, to have somebody get it is so huge. Don't you think? Right? It's just so, yeah, right. That somebody sees it, because what a lot of us have with chronic illness, it's not really chronicled. It's not really spelled out in modern medicine right now. So it feels like what we have.
Seems like people assume it as being normal.
Right, we assume that it's normal, and also there's no words for it, and there's no names for it, and everybody looks at you. And if you looked at me from the outside, it's this classic thing of, you seem fine to me, you look okay. It's like people get the idea of migraines. So in a way, that's something I say that to people so they get the idea. But there were so many other issues going on at the same time. The brain fog, the fatigue in a way that, and I'm still fighting with the fatigue in a way where I wake up in the morning sometimes and I think, when can I go to bed? All I can think about is, when can I get back in bed? It's just, it's like I'm just dying all I want to do is, it's like a fatigue that you can't explain. It's not just being tired. it's like your bones are tired, you know, the kind of stuff that people have, and the kind of stuff that people have with Epstein-Barr virus. It's so mysterious, and you feel weird, or you feel vertigo or nauseous, or all these symptoms you can't explain. So I just immediately kind of, I was still, I'd say, not skeptical, but trying to be discerning. Okay, is this guy the real deal? It wasn't like I just bought into it completely 100% right away. I started looking at the people around him, started just assessing and really feeling for myself. And then I got on his on his mailing list, and then he sent out an email saying, we're going to do a practitioner training group. And this part was actually within 3 weeks of reading the book, because I was thinking, how can I get involved in this movement? I want to learn this. Maybe I want to study. You know, let's see what it is. Let's see what it's about. I want to find out. And I just signed up immediately. And that was just really trusting. It felt like jumping off a cliff, because I had one teacher, you know, 30 years before that. And I never really thought I'd have another teacher again. You know, I never thought I'd find a whole new body of information. And I didn't get to talk to him for 4 months. You know, I got signed up, and they said they were going to call me. And I was actually in one of the last groups, because he got to a point he had to kind of shut it down because he was writing the books and stuff. So I did get to have a reading with him. I had one reading with him, which was, it was a kind of a meeting, reading where I was able to ask him a few things about myself, and also some people that I know, and talk about, you know, and we've just generally talked about trying to get the information out there. That I said to him, I want to help, whatever I can do to get the information out. And the first thing that he said to me was that my migraines are based on one of the varieties of the shingles virus. And for me, that changed my life. If that's the only thing I ever got out of it, because he says that there are over 30 different varieties of shingles that people don't know about. There's the kind that everybody knows, that's about the rashing and the, you know, the spots, the bumps, that's super painful and all that. But there's also shingles that attack the nerves. And mine attack the trigeminal nerve, which comes up over like this. And so mine, a lot of times my migraines are pretty one-sided on the right. And I was just able then to go into the book and say, this is what I need to be on for the shingles virus. And so anyway, I joined the practitioner group, and that was where I started to learn more from Muniza, because she was one of the people running it, Muniza Ahmed. So I highly recommend following her. You know, she has a membership group that's really fantastic. She was able to study pretty directly with Anthony. She learned a lot from him. So to me, she's kind of the next best thing. He's so busy writing books and stuff. So anyway, we were in that group for about, I don't know, a year, 2 years or something. And that's officially closed down at this point. But there's tons of information out there. People can still learn a lot, especially from Muniza. And yeah, they're amazing people doing, helping other people to figure out your own protocols. And that's what I've been working on the last, 4 years. Studied with him a little bit, and then studied with Muniza mostly. And now I'm what's called an admin in her groups, which I love. I learned so much. She is really she's like an encyclopedia of medical medium information. She's just amazing. So
yeah, she always amazes me too with what she knows. And
yeah.
In addition to the books.
Yeah, in addition to the books, because she had so many personal conversations with him, and there's only so much he can fit in the books. Yeah. So she knows a lot of the stuff, the in-between stuff, or how to apply it. So I've been learning with her, and I still do my shamanic work, and now I also work with people doing the medical medium, helping people find their own protocols, and working with people doing a little bit of both, like how to combine some of the spiritual aspects, like that he, that he has meditations and the angels, and I like combining that. For me now, I love combining the spiritual stuff along with like the practical how to, what supplements to take and what foods to take and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm just going off on tangents or actually answering your
No,
question.
everything's fine. You're on track.
Okay. I was just thinking, do you want me to talk a little more about my own healing?
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Did you, about your eczema, did you experience that too when you were an adult or just during your childhood?
Right. So it's always been there to some degree, right? So it's very interesting when I was telling you before that when it was 1995, and I went with my shamanic teacher to Europe. And man, the cheese there is so good, right? The cheese and the bread in Europe is like, it's so different from America, so much
Absolutely.
better. And I didn't really eat cheese. I kind of always had this feeling that cheese made me constipated, that it wasn't good for me. And there was a lot of talk even then that dairy wasn't so great for you, even like in the 80s and 90s. But my eczema got terrible. I got it on my eyes, which was horrible. I had my eyes were itching all the time. And my shamanic teacher, the spirit named Black Bear, who was channeled through this friend of mine, he said to me, he goes, you need to give up eggs and dairy. And he said, you need to give up eggs and dairies and watch out for oils. He said, your liver and your colon are like dirty. Basically, he was saying you need to cut out fats. And he said eggs and dairy. I mean, how interesting is that? It's exactly what Anthony said, right? So
Right.
I pretty much gave up eggs at that point, and I pretty much gave up dairy. I had a hard time giving up butter. I didn't really give up butter till Anthony, which is still dairy and it's 100% fat, right? So my eczema got much, much better at that point, to where I'd just have it if I ate, my husband and I both loved Chinese food. It was like if I eat fats, really bad fats, it would come back, but just little bits, like little spots. And then, so when I found Anthony, I had already given up eggs and dairy. And so my eczema was much better, but I'll tell you, it's come back in waves since I've been healing. Like, in the last year and a half, and then also like, since about Thanksgiving, which is the end of November in America, I've gone extremely low fat to pretty much no fat. And I had a wave of a lot of eczema coming out again. I think even going no fat has flushed out deep toxins. I think you just go through layers and layers from your liver. So I never had full body eczema. Like some people have the worst, who my heart goes out to them. But I've had enough eczema to know that, it drives you crazy, right? Do you have it too? Have you had it too?
I had rosacea, and once that started, about a few months later, I got a rash all over my upper body and my arms, and it would itch like hell. So I can kind of imagine how it feels like to have eczema.
Right, and that it makes you insane. The amount of itching, and it's the pain and the itching. There are people in the medical medium world who've had full body. They've had it since they were kids, and they're healing. I mean, it's just incredible to me because I know how insane it's made me in the spots, like just different spots around my body. So that's been kind of, in terms of my most intense symptoms, like, he really says, and Muniza really says, work on the thing that is your most intense symptom, the thing that bothers you the most. Because and for me, it was the migraines, like the level of pain and nerve pain and like the nerves in my head just contracting to a level that you think, I don't know, you just think I can't even make it through the next minute. And I also know people have had migraines much worse than me. I know people who have migraines every day. And for me, it was never every day. The worst was maybe 3 times a week. And in between, I wouldn't feel well. But the sheer pain, maybe that was the worst. And so I really started applying the shingles protocols. And I would say within about, it takes a while. In some ways, I really believe it's like you're taking a river And then you're digging up all the stuff, all the old stuff that's stuck at the bottom of the river, that's in your liver, that's in your bloodstream. And it's like my migraines definitely started to get better, but in some ways I felt worse because I just felt really sluggish. I think I could feel everything getting stirred up. And, you know, Anthony does talk about sometimes you get worse before you get better because you were already going towards those symptoms becoming extreme. And I think that's what happened. I found, Anthony, when my symptoms were becoming like, maybe they were like 75 to 80%. And so then in terms of how I felt, I started in the spring, and the next year and a half were pretty bad, where I just didn't feel good all the time. It was just like feeling sick all the time. It's like, I can't explain it to people. It's so hard. It's like you
were on the protocol already, or more or less.
Yeah, I mean, more or less. Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to give up everything. Anthony told me to give up meat. He told me that I had to give up animal protein, and so I gave that fairly soon. Not everybody has to do that, and you know, it just takes time to really change. Like the way that I eat now, I pretty much eat fat-free. And I never really went to raw, because if you have a lot of nerve issues, like me with the migraines and stuff, he says your nerves start to get weaker after about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I really need potatoes. Potatoes are really grounding. So I have mostly raw during the day, and then I have potatoes somewhere in the afternoon or the early evening. So some people are able to go all raw, and that's fantastic. But that just hasn't really been my thing. I'm more like, I have some cooked, and I have no fat now, but that took me years to get to. And it just took me years to, and plus I was so tired. You know, now I've added in another juice in the morning. You know, I have lemon water, then I have celery, and then I always add like an apple, cucumber, or watermelon, or an orange juice or something. I was so tired. It was hard to even do those things, right? It's like, you know, he says you got to do things in baby steps. So it took me a while. And plus you have to remember, so I'm almost 60. So this started in my late 50s. And this is a huge general statement, but I do see people that are younger seem to get better more quickly. And it depends on how sick you are too. Depends on what you have when you start, right? So it's like I had I have the Epstein-Barr and shingles and strep. So, and they had had a long time to grow in my body without any, you know, checks or balances. So it took a while. And I think that's hard for people, because you think, I'm not getting better. But at the same point for me, the drugs didn't work. You know, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I try some of the migraine, and they make me worse. And so I would look at Anthony's stuff and go, well, this is all natural. This is what I believe in. And people were saying sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes, you know, and I know I can just say, I think the thing that gave me a lot of faith too was that because of my shamanic work, that healing work, in some ways I felt a lot better right away when I started. And then I had to start going into the stuff about myself that I didn't want to look at, and the stuff that was harder to change. That, you know, honestly, to get from doing a lot of emotional work, spiritual work, to get to the place where I really felt a big shift, like a deep, deep shift, where I felt connected to spirit, where I felt happy. That was probably about 10 years, which wow. I know it sounds like forever, you know, and I was happier along the way for sure, you know, but it's just life, things take time here on the earth plane. So I thought, when I read his book, I thought, this is going to take me about 5 years. It's just the thought that came into my head. Because we're talking about changing everything that's gone into you from the time you were a baby. You know, I wasn't breastfed because I was adopted. I was given, you know, who knows what kind of junk milk that stuff is, you know. So I had stuff since I was a baby, plus inherited things from my mother. And some people get better in 6 months, which is amazing.
Yeah, so, I find that amazing too.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I think it's important not to give up and to look at the things that do get better, because I had things getting better right away. You know, just aches and pains got better a lot quicker, and you know, and also this was my amazing story, is that I started celery juice, and I gave up, you know, I wasn't eating much wheat, but a little bit of wheat, and I just completely cut out dairy. It would just sort of sneak in some places. I wasn't really doing eggs, but, you know, it's having maybe birthday cake, stuff like that, where you're not trying to have eggs, but it's there. You don't realize how much dairy and eggs are in everything, right? I mean, and
Right.
especially in Europe and Germany, right? It's like everybody has bread and cheese all the time. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Right, the bread is fantastic, the cheese is fantastic. Sorry if I'm triggering anybody.
Yeah, in
Um,
Germany, I think for most of the people, it's the hardest thing to give up is their bread because they're so used to it. It's
I
a
know, and
cultural
it's
thing.
so good. It's so good. Bread is hard to give up. It is. I mean, I don't eat grains anymore. That took me a couple of years to do, and there are things I miss for sure. It's just that I feel so much better that I just, whenever I crave something, I just think that's going to make me feel so sick. It just would make me feel so sick now. But anyway, I was talking about celery juice. So, you know, I was having like a few wheat crackers. I didn't really eat a lot of bread because it always did make me feel sort of stuck. But just so one day I started celery juice. I started adding more fruit, and my constipation went away like that.
Wow.
And it's not that I haven't had gut issues even over these 4 years with still some bloating or, you know, Anthony also told me I had shingles in my gut too, because so I can have some pretty bad pain in my gut. That's so much better. But I'm telling you, my constipation went away like that. And my digestion changed like that because I was adding all this living water with fruit and vegetables and raw going into my gut and taking away things that slowed it down, like the wheat and the dairy and the eggs that would feed, you know, feed all the bacteria, and also anything that is dehydrated, you know, like cooked food or bread or flours. Those are so much harder for your body to digest. So I knew that something was working, right? I mean, I was constipated since I was a baby, and now I have no issues with that. I mean, I really, you know, maybe like once a year or something. And that, if you have gut issues, you know how uncomfortable it is. It could just be so painful. And so I saw things starting to change right away, you know, just, and I lost like 10 pounds right away, which, you know, with the weight can go up and down for sure, even when you're eating really healthy. We know about that because the liver is
Adrenals.
sometimes moving toxins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you say adrenals?
Yeah, also because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
related
The
to the
adrenals,
liver.
right? And your adrenals can move out. Your liver can move out toxins that it stores in the body until it's ready to release. So, um, yeah. So for me, the really big thing was the migraines, which just started getting less painful and less often. Right. So I'd still have another one. It's like what Anthony says, that you go 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And I had that with migraines to now. Well, and I had a period where I was pretty good at about 2.5 years. I have to say for about a year, I don't even think I had a migraine. I had some like minor ones that were like a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. And then sadly, I had a whole nother flare, which I think might have been due to stress. Like I look back on what was happening then, because he says that adrenaline feeds the viruses. And, you know, maybe I was exposed to something, I don't know. So I had a period of maybe 3 or 4 months where I had migraines again. And that's so hard, you know, where you go back. And then that was starting last summer. But I really applied everything that I knew. And then they just started going downhill again to where, you know, it's like now I can say like I'm having a migraine, but it's like on the scale of 1, where I feel a little bit off, I feel tired, I feel a little nauseous, and I have a little bit of pain in my head. And really, even in the last 6 months, I don't know, you know, I've maybe had to just really rest in bed like 1 or 2 days. You know, it's just so much, it's sometimes the progress is so slow until you look back and you realize, oh, they're getting a little better. And that's what Anthony says about migraines. They'll get to a point where they're much, much less frequent. You don't have them as often, and they're much less painful. So yeah. And, you know, for me, it's made a big difference cutting out fat. That's made a big difference in terms of my whole body feeling sluggish, where it just doesn't feel sluggish anymore, because now my liver can process whatever's coming up. But of course, this whole experience, the trauma right now, is very stressful. You know, I'm not immune to it. I think this is kind of a tough time right now because of this, the global pandemic, that probably people's symptoms are going to flare. So it's just really important to stick with what you're doing, and the food and the supplements, and
to stay as calm as possible.
And stay as calm as possible. You know, it's like I really have to meditate every day to try and stay sane. And even then, of course, we all worry. And, you know, the food is challenging. Staying motivated is challenging. I mean, I have to say for me, and it's sort of a sad reason, but that the reason I stayed so motivated is because of the pain. It's like when I have migraines, I'm very focused on staying on the protocols because they've worked. So now I've seen it work for me. You know, there is no cure for migraines, supposedly, according to science, that they don't know what migraines are from, and there's no cure for it. But, you know, I am healing from that. And I still have hot flashes, which Anthony says is from the liver. I'm still working on those. When I take out fat, they're much better, much, much better. And everybody has a different combination of symptoms, you know, so.
Yeah, that's so special, and also interesting.
Yes, right, that everybody's so unique. But I get that people look at it and they think, this is so hard. You know, you have to give up all these things, because what our societies come to sort of these foods that taste good and that are fast, and foods that are basically have been available for us in tough times. But that what Anthony's saying is that really we're meant to be eating raw fruit and vegetables. And I have to say my taste buds have changed. You know, sure, there's things I miss, for sure. And I definitely go through those phases where I think, oh, I really want that thing. Or, you know, a couple times over the years, I've had something that has fat in it, or oils or something, and I can feel it on my lips now, where it's just like, wow, this has so much fat in it. And I used to eat this, you know, that I just, you know, loved this, you know, French fries and things like that. And now when I eat my smoothies, that they make me feel so good. You know, now I crave this. I have to have a lot of hydrating. That your taste buds really change. You know, I love potatoes, thank God, right? I know how to make potatoes about 190 ways, right? So you really learn how to make potatoes, right? Right? And the potatoes are very good in Germany, though they're really mostly made with a lot of fat, but they know how to make potatoes there, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I can babble on and babble on.
Okay. There's so much information coming with it.
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much information. It's so interesting. Yeah.
And you're learning so much by doing the support in Munisa's classes.
I learned so much because, of course, you know, when I started, and definitely the first couple of years, you know, I'm interested in what everybody else is going through, but I'm only focused on mostly what I have. So, you know, I know a lot about migraines. I know a lot about gut stuff. I know a lot about shingles. But I'm very interested to really learn about all the different issues and symptoms, you know, because it is so interesting, and how all of us have sort of different combinations of them. Yeah.
So did the gut stuff at some point or also influence your teeth health, or is that something that never happened to you?
Yeah, so dental stuff, right, he says, is like the problems with the teeth are from the gut, which has to do with the liver and the gut. I think so. I think I've had more spots on my teeth that are maybe the beginning of cavities. And I've been doing a lot of celery juice, of course, every day, and swishing with the celery juice. So I have had some spots on my teeth that were painful that are better, are better now. But he says that teeth take a long time to really change. And I'm just very nervous about the dentist. Last time I went to the dentist, which was about 1.5 years ago, I don't know, she gave me something ridiculous, like 12 x-rays. And I just felt like I thought it was going to be like 4 x-rays or something. And, Anthony says radiation is really toxic to us. So I know that's made me sicker. And so I'm really nervous to even go back to the dentist.
Yeah, me too, all the time.
One thing that Manisa recommended as well is that on his website under the personal care, I think it's probably under personal care, there's like a water hydrator pick. So it's like a tool that has a reservoir that you put water in, and then it's like a water pick. I don't know what you'd call that.
Where you flush your teeth in between.
Where you flush your teeth. And that she said it's so important because it keeps your teeth really clean. So you can get in between your teeth. And so if you have a spot that's the beginning of a cavity, to make sure to be using that, to keep cleaning it out every day. And then, I have cataract surgery. I had cataract surgery in one eye. So cataracts are also from heavy metals. I have tons of heavy metals. I mean, it's like the migraines were so obvious, but I have so many other issues. I have intense heat and cold issues, which a lot of people have, which he says is from Epstein-Barr. Like, I've always been that kind of person that I'm either hot or I'm cold. I'm super sensitive to the temperature. I can tell you the temperature in a room, probably. People that have cold hands and cold feet, that's from the virus. Some of the common issues are vertigo, dizziness, and ringing in the ears. I have a tiny bit of that. Do you have that? Do you get any of that, the tinnitus?
Sometimes I get a little sound, but it's really not often.
Right. So that's a good sign. It's not too bad yet. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And, like we keep talking about, I understand why people find it challenging. And at the same time, there's so many people doing it now. Like I finally got onto Instagram, I don't know, a year or two ago, and there's such a fantastic community on Instagram of people that are putting up great recipes. You get tired of making the same stuff. So you got to be looking out for different kinds of recipes. And, my thing is that I want to be here. I'm almost 60. I have a lot of stuff to do, I feel like, still. And I could see that I was going to get to the point where I was going to start having to take antacids and laxatives and a medication for my allergies and a medication for this, that I was going to be 70 on, 10 different medications and ending up having a slow, painful death into my 70s and 80s, right? I mean, like, I just look ahead and I just think, I don't want that. I don't want to end up being hospitalized and being in the medical system all the time. You treat acid reflux with one drug, but then you have side effects from that. So you have to take another drug, right? I mean, I have to tell you, that's probably one of my biggest motivation, is because I am older, is just looking ahead at the next 25 years or however long I'm here and saying, I was feeling sicker and sicker and sicker and thinking, if I could stop the progress of all that, and actually even feel pretty good as I'm getting older, that's really worth it to me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Our whole society, you look at everybody's on so many medications now. And I'm not on anything. I'm on supplements, but hopefully I won't need those at some point. Yeah.
My parents say that a lot too, or especially my dad. If he sees my supplements, it's like when elder people take their medications and I'm taking my supplements. Yeah. But I rather take the supplements than any medications. I was never a fan of taking anything.
Me neither. It's definitely why Anthony made so much sense to me in the beginning, because it is all natural. I mean, the supplements they're basically natural. They're not pharmaceuticals. So, the idea that food can heal us. And now when I look at the world and common, the Western medicine, I just think it's like, how blind have we all been to not believe that what goes into our body makes a difference? It's like, it doesn't have anything to do with what people eat. Maybe, the idea of people eating red meat can lead to high blood pressure. And that's about it. But how did we buy that? I think just because we want the junk food that tastes good, you know, or used to taste good to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it tastes good. So why would I want to get off of it? I want to eat what I like.
Right. Right. And it's hard. You know, I used to eat tons of chocolate, and Anthony said dates are the best replacement for chocolate. And that worked for me. I eat so many dates.
It's
You
me
know,
too.
dates are so fantastic. You're allowed to have it and have them. And
They're good for the gut.
yeah, they're really good for the gut. And they've really helped me to they've completely replaced. I mean, I gave up chocolate in one day, which was actually pretty amazing. The hardest thing for me, actually, I know for most people, giving up dairy is tough. They miss their cheese and this and that, and bread is tough. Was corn. Was that corn is really considered a sacred food to the Native Americans, and it's become genetically modified, which is so sad because I love corn.
Yeah, me too.
So for me, that makes me really angry. That makes me really angry.
Yeah, especially if since it's kind of a vegetable that you can put on the grill, just like zucchinis or eggplants, anything else. It's strange.
And it's very sad that he says, because most of it's been genetically modified, that it just cross-pollinates across the world. So yeah.
So I think kind of some people have the opinion that if you do some energy work or shamanic healing, that might heal all of your symptoms. And you can eat whatever you like if you have the right mindset. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I know probably to some degree used to think that way, that because, you know, we do believe shamanically that if something is blocked energetically, like say you have old emotions that are blocked in your energy field, you know, I'm going like this, that can cause physical issues in the body. And I do think that's true. It's just that Anthony opened me to a whole different world. And that honestly, I think we're sick on so many levels these days because our modern world is so sick. And so my teacher said, if you want to change something, really change something to a deep level, change a deep issue or a problem, is that you have to change it on the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, and the mental. And I think shamanism does lots of stuff on the emotional and spiritual, and it does affect the physical for sure. And this emotional, spiritual, mental. But I think that Anthony's information coming through is the highest truth, or one of the highest truths, that it is truth about what's going on with our physical bodies, you know, and that he's talking about the idea that all of this started with the Industrial Revolution, you know, that we started having more and more toxins in our world, and that these viruses came about because of things that we were doing to the world. That, you know, he keeps talking about, it's not really our fault. It's not like these are things that are manifested only out of our anger. You know, maybe that would have been true 200 or 300 years ago, but that we're not, the way that people are sick now is very new, really. It's really in the last 150 years. So to me, they all go together, you know, that, you know, because of it being really sick, people also do have a lot of emotional distress. So I think it's important to get some healing and support in that way too. But for me, I can just say at this point, you know, in terms, now I really look through the lens of the medical medium information, and that they have to go together. So like you have to work on all the levels. You know, it's like you can do tons of emotional healing, but if you don't change your thought patterns, you know, if you're always thinking I'm a loser, I'm terrible, you know, life is terrible, you can have a lot of negative thoughts. Or a lot of times you can work on changing your thoughts, but if you haven't really changed your the deep emotional feeling that says nothing will ever work out for me, it's hard to see the world that way. And then at the same level now is my feeling is you have to work on the physical body. You know, that if you want to stay here in this physical body and you want it to be well, then we've been given this gift of this information that's come through. You know, I see it kind of like it's like a big library in the sky, and Anthony is the conduit. You know, it's like he's brought this, you know, this huge body of, it's like just a never-ending library of how to heal the human body, you know. And it's modern. It fits our modern world. You know, that he says even things like acupuncture, things that are really wonderful. I'm not trying to put anything down that's from the past, but he's just saying they were sort of made for the physical problems that we had before this stuff started, that they don't address the viral piece. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
What I'm saying?
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I have one last question that I ask
sure.
everyone.
Uh-huh.
If you could start again, would you do things differently? Maybe get off of the no foods sooner, or?
Oh God, it's so tough. You know, it's also because I think you have to know yourself, and you have to, I don't know. It's like, I think I had to realize with myself too, that also on an emotional level, that I could only go as fast as I could go. You know, even my shamanic teacher, Black Bear, would say, once I started learning about emotional blocks, and, I have this issue with men because of issues with the men in my family. And, once I started to understand that, I was like, get it all out of me now, like, let's just change it all. And he said, you all want to release it all in one day and get rid of it all in one day. And he said, you can't. You just can't. It's too much. Like, every time you process one piece of an emotion or a memory from the past, it takes time, and it has to process through your body. So I don't know if you can. It's like, as I think, well, should I have gone all raw and no fat in the beginning? I don't think I could have done it. And I don't think I could have done it psychologically. And I don't think my body could have handled it, because my liver would have just started dumping toxins. It's like you say, you're emotionally healing too quickly. You can't release all the grief and all the pain in a week that's built up over, your whole life. I don't know. I guess, if you look back and there's anything you want to tell your younger self, is just that you're going to get better. I mean, it's like, that's so hard. I always had a fair amount of faith that I would get better, but you don't see when it's going to happen. I don't know. If anything, I think it's really key. Like, one of the things I think did help changing things around was adding a little more hydration in. And it's just tough doing things like that, because you need the energy to, run the juicer. Or, once I figured out, I always used to think, I'm going to add another juice in the afternoon. But in the afternoon is when I'm the most tired. And then I just said, okay, I'm going to add a juice. I'm going to do my celery juice. I might run some water through the juicer. I don't clean it, but then I do another one, and that's helped. Just because you need a lot of hydration to flush out the toxins that are coming up, and good hydration, either lemon water or some kind of juice. That's about the only thing. But even then, I think looking back, you just say, what was I capable of doing at that point? It's just having compassion for yourself, that it's just going to take some time. And it's important. I do think it's important to reach out, whether or not you have a practitioner, or whether you're just going online and reading how other people are doing and how they're improving, because that gave me hope. To say, oh, this person, they were doing it. They were really sick. I mean, you just look at Munisa. She was really sick. She had asthma her whole life, serious asthma. And she's a few years ahead of us. She's been doing it more like 7, 8, 9 years. People that have been doing it a couple years ahead of me, that were doing so much better. And, but at the same time, people are still working on stuff, so.
Yes, everybody has their stuff to work on.
Right. And you hit layers.
There's
just, and you just hit other layers, and then you can be exposed to new things. That happens, and stress will get you. And, but like I said, for me, it was from that I knew my spiritual path took time, and that, that we're just on this earth plane. We live in time and space. It just takes time. And that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we all have to realize, that we can't go from one day to another. It takes time to get rid of the symptoms that we've been building up over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that's tough. And at the same time, it slowly leads, you have to think about that. It's not a diet. It's not a quick fix, that it is about really changing it's really changing your whole lifestyle. And I got that pretty early. I was like, this is changing a lifestyle. It'll take me a while. It just took me a while to eat where I am now. Yeah.
Yeah, we always go as far as we can, and then the next step whenever we're ready.
Right, when we're ready. And that was something that Muniza really helped with too, is just, you got to listen to your body and know what you're ready to do. Yeah, and to reach out for help, try to get into some of these communities. The support I've gotten, it's all been online. I feel like my friends are online now. We have support people we know all over the world now. And I love that. That's neat. I was always used to doing everything in person, and even when I was really sick, I could still be laying in bed and still be on my phone. Okay, what did Anthony put out today? What's Muniza talking about today? What is this other person putting out? And I found that inspiring. Yeah, to kind of stay in the community. Has that helped you too?
Very motivating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
So as you're very popular in the community to doing a little meditation in the end, do you want to do a meditation today too?
Yes, of course. So I always like to end everything with a meditation. I almost forgot. I like to end with a meditation, just to kind of get everybody centered and, add that little bit of, I don't know, sort of the spiritual knowingness to it. Let's do one of Anthony's meditations. He has very simple meditations. It was one of the reasons I loved him right away too, was that all of his meditations are shamanic in my mind. They're all about the earth, right? It's connecting, becoming a tree, connecting to the grandmother ocean, listening to the birds, watching the sunset. Like, I read those and I thought, oh, this is just right up my alley. So I think since it's such a stressful time right now, with the global anxiety, which is so intense, let's do the ocean meditation. And this is just about letting the ocean, which we believe in shamanism, we call her grandmother ocean. We believe that she's a real living being, and that she can come through her waves and wash over you and help wash away the anxiety, and then wash in healing and light. So how does that sound?
Very beautiful.
All right. So we'll just do a quick meditation. It'll just be 5 to 10 minutes. So
yeah,
wherever you are, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And hopefully, though, you're not driving. You don't do this while you're driving. And just find a comfortable place to sit. Ideally, you want to sit doing these meditations so you don't fall asleep, but if you must lie down, it's totally fine. So we'll start out with some nice deep breaths, 3 deep breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Unlocking your jaw. And just settling into your body, knowing that you can heal. That if you're giving your body lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, potatoes, then your body says, yes, I can work with this. I can heal. I can fix the problems. That your body innately knows how to heal. And just sinking into your body, knowing that that power is within it. Becoming aware of your hands and your feet. And then imagine sending a cord of energy down into the earth. Like the root of a tree goes down from your hips. So it's like a root that goes down from your hips, down and down into the layers of the earth. Connecting you to the Earth Mother, saying hello to the Earth Mother beneath you. And then letting her energy flow up through this cord. Beautiful, loving energy from the earth. We say in shamanism that she is our true mother. Each of us is one of her children. She is aware of you. She loves each of us. Her energy flows up into your hips and pools in your hips. Just filling your hips with beautiful, loving, grounding energy from the earth. She pulls you to her, and then that energy starts to rise up your spine. In this time of lots of anxiety, grounding energy from the Earth Mother is just perfect because it grounds out that anxiety, that extra electricity that's flowing through your nerves. So grounding, smoothing energy coming up through your spine, up over the top of your head, and then down the front of your spine. Down through your hips. Down into the earth, where it turns and rises up your back again. And the energy from the earth floods out through your whole nervous system, down to your fingers and toes, into your brain. Just grounding out your whole body, bringing you down to earth. Just breathe and relax. I like to start imagining that you're walking towards some sandy dunes with some seagrass. There's a path. And you're walking along this path and you start to hear the sounds of the ocean, the waves crashing. Maybe you hear seagulls. And as you walk, slightly rise up over the dunes and you start to see the ocean. The sun, grandfather sun shining down, the light playing on the waves. And you already start to relax. Just some nice deep breaths. You can feel the energy of the ocean, hear the waves crashing, just so relaxing. And you find a perfect place to sit. Maybe you're on a blanket, just sitting on the sand. It's just the perfect temperature. The sun is the perfect temperature. You can pray to the angel of the sun to ask for her blessing, that her light, the light of the sun, comes into your body. I always pray to both. Grandfather Sun, we say in shamanism, and Anthony talks about angel of the sun. Pray to them both for blessing. And then starting to look out at the ocean, sending your focus out, saying hello to Grandmother Ocean. Ho, Grandmother Ocean, we pray to honor you today and humbly ask for your blessing. Knowing that the ocean is deep and vast, full of love and power. And you ask that her waves start to wash over you. So you see a wave coming in. And just using your imagination, imagine that wave comes up over the top of your head. It's like a wave of beautiful sparkling light, and that starts to wash down over the top of your head, down through your brain, your eyes and your nose and your mouth and your throat, even through your hair, down through your shoulders and your arms, washes down through your torso, all your internal organs, down through your hips, down through your legs, down through your feet. It's kind of like scrubbing bubbles of light that washes down through your body, starts to wash away any anxiety, stress. And that's, you can start to see the wave getting pulled out, starts to pull out to Grandmother Ocean, where it takes any negativity, anxiety, and Grandmother Ocean takes it, that she can transform it into light. And then you take another deep breath, and another wave comes up. We'll do 4 altogether. This is number 2. Breathe in, beautiful wave of sparkling light. Grandmother's love for you, Grandmother Ocean's love for you, same thing, starts to wash down over the top of your head. Down, relaxes your scalp and your ears. Stress in your head and your brain down through your neck and shoulders. Just a cleansing wave down through your lungs and your arms. Washes down your back and your belly. Just breathing in that light. This light is a gift to you that she gives to you freely. Washes down through your hips, down through your legs, and just washes through, brings light throughout your whole body, cleaning the cells, any places where you have pain or you feel sick, just washing those away and then washing that out. Out into the ocean, just saying goodbye to that stuff you don't need any longer. You can feel it getting pulled out, sucked out. The power of the ocean pulls it all out, goes out into Grandmother Ocean where it all gets jumbled up and tumbled up and transformed. And then Grandmother Ocean sends you new energy, another wave. Another big wave comes up of light and positive energy. It starts to wash even through your aura, the energy around your body, cleansing a foot above your head as well, because we can carry a lot of stuff, heavy stuff in our auras. Just washing through your aura, all your worries and fears, just letting them go. The wave washes down through your aura, outside your body, and also inside your body, your head, your neck, your shoulders, torso, front and back. Just breathing in all that good light and positive energy and love and healing down through your arms to your fingers, down through your hips, through your thighs, knees, calves, feet and toes. Getting pulled out to the ocean once again. It's all transformed and jumbled up into the vast ocean. Grandmother Ocean has that power. And then take another deep breath. Bring in one last wave. Another beautiful wave of sparkling light. It's like the water sparkling with sunlight. Magical sparkling light, filled with sun, filled with light. Wash down from above your head, out your body as well. Like getting a sparkling shower. Washes down through your head, your throat, and your neck, and your shoulders, your face, your ears, down your arms, your upper arms, your lower arms, to your fingers, all the way down your back and your hips, your front and your belly. Just seeing your whole body filling with light. Washes down through your legs with this one final washing through, but leaving lots of light in your body. And the wave goes out, pulling out anything negative, but just leaving all that sparkling light. And just sitting and breathing, looking at the ocean. Just as each wave comes in and crashes. Just know that what life goes on with ebbs and flows, with hard times and good times, that this too shall pass. Every single thing changes. Everything shall pass. And that as you get filled with light, that you bring light to the world. Wherever you're sitting, whatever you're doing, that you're contributing now, bringing light to the world. And just feeling the earth beneath you, grounding all this light into your body, letting the light really anchor into all your cells, really light up all your cells, feeling the earth connecting to you. So you ground this energy into your body. You can do this meditation anytime. You're good to do it before you go to sleep or when you wake up in the morning or in the afternoon. If you're feeling heavy with anxiety, just letting Grandmother Ocean help you wash that away so you feel a little bit lighter. It's not about ignoring what's going on, but it's about how do you keep letting go of the fear and the anxiety so that you can bring the best of you to the world. And then slowly coming back into the room where you are, into your body, bringing back all this good energy with you. And then you're going to take 3 quick breaths and just gently open your eyes. Oh, I hope that helped.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Good.
So
It helped me too. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm affected by the worries and the fears and the doubts, and I have my own anxiety, and I do something like that and I go, it's not about like ignoring what's happening, but when you get in a better space, then we can handle it. And then you can help your family handle it. You can help your friends handle it. People around you. So, yeah. Okay. So it's a very simple meditation, but really powerful. And I want you to think about that. It's not just imagination. I really believe it. Like when you sit and say, even though we're not at the ocean, we say, and you've got a map behind you with ocean on it.
Yeah.
Even though we're not at the ocean, that we're saying, that we're saying Grandmother Ocean, and that her energy really can come to you. I mean, I really believe that. So that you really physically, energetically get a healing. It's not just your imagination. So.
Yeah, we can do a lot with our imagination.
Exactly. Yeah, my teacher said shamans are the masters of imagination. So.
You're one of the masters.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for taking your time.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. As you can tell, I love to talk. So.
Yes, it was so interesting to hear your story.
Good, good. I really hope it helps people. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I figured it all out in one day by any means.
No, I guess no one really does.
No one really does, and the benefit I had was that I had gone through something before that time, and that I had times where I had a lot of doubts, and I thought, I'm never going to get better. I'm never going to fix this. My life was a mess, and now so many things fell into place in my life, and that just took time, and it was so worth it in the end. I mean, it's never the end. It's never over. But I knew that dedication and commitment and hard work over time, it really makes a difference. And especially when you're following the right thing, something that actually really works. Yeah. And there's bumps. There are bumps in the road. There's just there are just times that it gets harder, and that's where you really
life
have
is
to have
testing
faith.
you.
Life is testing you. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm living proof too, that you can get better, that, I just don't have pain the way that I used to have pain. And I feel for anybody who's in chronic pain, it's just, it's debilitating to your life.
Yes. So thank you very much for taking your time and joining in.
Yes.
Let's say goodbye to our viewers.
Yes.
And I hope they enjoyed our little meditation.
Yes. And I do lives.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, a lot of times I do them every other Friday evening in America, which means you just have to watch them the next day. But if you follow me on Healing with Susan Wolf on Instagram, I announce when I do lives and stuff. Yeah, and I always do a meditation.
And you also have a website and a retreat coming up, if it's still taking place.
Yes, if it's still going to happen. If anybody, well, I mean, certainly you could come from Germany. You know, it's the East Coast. It's not so far from Europe.
No.
I do every year. I do a retreat at the beach in Virginia, and it's a women's retreat. And I rent a big house. It's about less than a block to the beach. It's like about a 3-minute walk to the beach. And in the past, it was focused on shamanism and doing like a full moon ceremony on the beach. But now I've also added in the medical medium food. It's about 4 days, and that's on my website in September, and hopefully it's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, if the prophecy reveals its truth, then it's sure gonna happen.
Yes. Yes. So yeah. So everybody stay healthy and yeah, take care of yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you again for joining in. And then we say goodbye to our viewers and see you soon.
Goodbye, everybody. Yes.
Bye.
Many blessings. All right.